All right, what's happening, party people? Welcome back to another episode of Inside the Desert Oasis Room. Today we are not inside the Desert Oasis Room. We are inside Teddy's Tiki Art Studio.
Yeah, what's up,
What's
guys?
happening, Teddy? Aloha.
I'm so happy to have you guys here. This is so exciting.
Dude, I'm excited to be here. So, when we first met, did we meet you were a vendor at Aloha Sunday, right?
Yeah, so
Is that how we met?
Yeah, through Outline, David.
Oh, through Outline,
Through
okay.
Outline, I got into tiki markets and I was doing Bamboo Club, and then I saw him post Aloha, and I live close from Frogtown. So I was like, hey, dude, how do I get in? And he's like, oh, reach out to Adrian.
Right.
And so that's when I reached out, and you were able to squeeze me in, and yeah.
Yeah, for the record, I always have a spot for you there. So
Thanks,
if you
man.
ever
Appreciate
want to
it.
vend there, you let me know.
Thanks, man.
I always have a spot for you
yeah.
there. And thanks for being flexible on that, by the way, because
Oh,
I moved
totally.
you around.
Yeah, there was always different spots, and I was like, "Ooh, I like this spot." The next
Yeah,
one,
yeah.
"Ooh, I like this
Yeah,
spot."
yeah.
So it's all.
You can
cool.
pick whatever spot
all
you want.
gravy.
It's up to you. But yeah, so I wasn't familiar with your work. And then when I saw your work, I thought, holy moly, this is like old school signs. Like the artwork and the style and the lettering.
Yeah.
It's all like old school. That's this stuff that you just kind of, it feels like it's going away.
It is. It's going away and coming back, and that's what I pretty much learned. So my mentor, that I studied under and was with him 6-7 days a week, 14 hours a day, is an old school journeyman sign painter, and he's young. He's 33. Amazing guy. Smart Alex Signs, based out of Huntington Beach.
Okay.
Also a big tiki fan. Funny enough, when we first met, and he found out I was doing tiki art, he's like, "Oh yeah, I went to Tiki Oasis once," and he has his home table is like one of the SpongeBob background patterns. He like painted it by hand and sealed it, and that's like his
cool.
home dining table.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, so he's a big tiki fan too.
I love it. It's the thing is, when it comes to vintage, almost anything, there's a crossover into tiki.
Always, everywhere.
Right?
Yeah.
There's
think so.
whether it's music or fashion or
Cars,
architecture,
exactly. Yeah.
cars,
Yeah,
or
100% art.
It's
exactly.
same thing. Like there's a crossover into tiki.
Yeah.
For our listeners that are not able to see of course you're not able to see what I'm seeing. We're sitting in the middle of this art studio with, I don't know how many cans of one-shot paint are in here. And I saw an airbrush somewhere.
Yeah, there's an airbrush gun around here. Right
yeah, there it is.
Yep,
I see an airbrush gun. And then is this a plotter over here?
That's a plotter, exactly.
That's a plotter.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we're going to show all of this into an accompanying video. So if you guys want to see what I'm talking about and you want to get a little peek into Teddy's Tiki's art studio, check us out on YouTube, right? youtube.com/Polynesian Pop. I want to start with your origin story.
Yeah.
Because you're a young guy. How old
32.
are you? 32. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
a young guy. So I'm old enough to be your dad. So I hate to admit that, but this is an art form that maybe your grandparents did. Right. I would say, as far as generations is concerned, right?
Yeah, it could
This
be,
is the stuff from early to mid-century, this style of art.
Yeah.
How did you get started doing this?
Yeah. So yeah, you're right. Sign painting. I mean, a little bit on the history. Tray Tech here in LA. It's the second oldest program. So Tray Tech's been around for over 100 years.
Oh, so they teach it there.
They teach it there. So I didn't go that route, but there's a lot of great painters coming out of Tray Tech. My mentor came out of Tray Tech. A lot of guys that I work with are all Tray Tech. Only a couple, like me, myself, and a few other guys are self-taught or did apprenticeships. But Tray Tech, it's the second program. The first program was sewing over 100 years ago. Yeah, and then sign graphics, sign painting. So
sewing's another thing I'd like to learn.
Yeah, same, seriously. Right. So yeah, sign graphics, sign painting has been around, art form that just is around. Even though it seems like it's dead, there's still guys doing it and pushing forward and bringing it to life.
Well, I wouldn't say that it's dead.
Well, no, not dead. It seems like it might be.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, especially, 90s.
For the average person.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And we're going to talk about all that too, because I want to talk to you about wraps and
yeah, right.
digital art and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to get into that in a little bit, but what got you into sign painting?
Yeah, what got me into it, a close friend of mine from middle school, very, very close friend, he went into sign painting. He comes from a generation, like his dad was a sign painter. So out of high school, he went to Tray Tech. I saw his journey. I went on a different path. I worked in production, TV and film. And I saw his journey and thought, dude, that is so cool. I wanted to get into it, but Tray Tech was full-time. They meet 4 days a week, about 6 to 8 hours a day, and I was already working full time, so I was like, I can't cut that. So I actually bought signs from him and stuff. That one up there, the Teddy one, he painted that for me.
Oh, this one right here.
No, the other one, the back there, that one.
Okay.
So,
oh wow, he's
I
talented.
yeah, he's great. And so, right when he graduated from Trade Tech, I bought signs from him and followed his journey. I was like, oh, dude, so cool. It looks
Yeah,
so fun.
yeah.
And then years later, never really thinking about it. Years later, around 2021, I came across my mentor, Smart Alex Signs. He did workshops on the weekends. And I was like, perfect. It works with my like full-time job. And stepping into his shop and seeing how he taught, and again, the very old school, everything hand drawn, his style, his again, like the whole vintage thing, and I was like, this is the guy that I really want to learn from. So I took a bunch of classes with him. The way he taught and the way he talked. There was a teacher very famous at Trade Tech called Doc. He's the guy that a lot of these great sign painters learned from. And unfortunately, he passed away, I believe, 2021, 2022. And so I kind of knew that with Doc not being around, we kind of maybe lost something. But when I met Smart Alex, everything he taught was always Doc this, Doc that. And I was like, oh, this guy's the fountain of knowledge.
Yeah.
Straight from the master,
Yeah,
Doc, who taught him and so many great sign painters.
So you're learning from a student of Doc.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
he's teaching you what he learned from him.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And so many guys that graduated from Doc are these incredible sign painters. Again, my friend that I've been friends since middle school. He studied under Doc, and he's a successful sign painter. His company name is called With Vivid Color. Amazing guy, does incredible work. And so yeah, I found my mentor, Smart Alex, did a bunch of workshops. And then around that time, I was kind of going through a little bit of like a crossroads in my life. I wasn't happy with production anymore. I've been doing it for over 10 years.
Yeah.
Kind of lost the charm. And I like sign painting, but I was like, how do I jump into it full time with just a few workshops under my belt? And just serendipitously, he posted on Instagram, hey, I'm looking for an apprentice, work with me full time. And right away, I was like, this is it. This is my one chance to do it full time, learn from one of the best in the business.
I love that you use the term serendipitously because, we're on this journey of life, right? Yeah. And there are things that happen along the way. I've mentioned this again and again and again on this podcast. I'm really fascinated by the butterfly effect, how this one thing can take you down a completely different path in your life and change everything. Yeah. Right. So if he didn't post that or you didn't see that post, who knows where you'd be?
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
That this was that butterfly effect.
Yeah.
That made you take the fork in the road.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
then you went from production to now being an artist.
Yeah.
So were you doing art before?
I was always into art as a little kid. I always kind of found that fascinating. I dabbled in a bunch of different things, even theater arts. I'm a performer. I'm an actor. Did acting for...
Oh, I didn't know this.
Yeah, that's another little tool I got in my belt. I've been acting since I was a little kid. 5th grade, my first acting class. Did it all through middle school, high school, tons of productions all over LA.
Wow. And
then I did it professionally for 3 years, but TV and film, it's a dog eat dog world. And I was just kind of like, I didn't have that. I felt like, I kind of want to have a easier way of life. I kind of want to have more fun versus like this constant, people are built for that constant hustle. And in acting, I wasn't really built for that. So that's when I transitioned to production, because I'm like, cool, I'm still in the industry. I'm making ends meet and I'm doing what I love, until years later I kind of lost that charm, and that's okay. That other people absolutely stay in it and keep going. And it's just, I feel like at that time, definitely was like, all right, it's time for a change. And sign painting came along. And it's funny you mentioned that. You're right, because as being a big Tiki fan, literally just down the street from Tiki T.
Yeah, I love
you saw
it.
how close we are.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's crazy to grow up here. Once I turned 21, started going to Tiki T casually, to then being a big Tiki fan and knowing the weight of Tiki T in the community and like the history and like the importance of it, to then finally through sign painting get to work with Tiki T and having created the little menu signs and then having the opportunity to paint. I was like in shock when I had that opportunity, and even painting it, I was like, this is really happening.
Yeah, I love that.
So yeah, you're talking about the butterfly effect. If he hadn't posted that thing, if I hadn't become his apprentice, I wasn't enjoying my old work, I wouldn't have come full circle and gotten to paint one of the places that I've been a super fan of.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's amazing, right? So let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Because Where do I even start with this? So, for the people that are not familiar with Tiki Tea, and I can't imagine that I have any listeners that don't know
I
who
know.
Tiki Tea is. Tiki Tea is a tiki bar that was opened by a man named Ray Buin in 1961. They will be celebrating their 65th anniversary this April.
That's awesome.
Isn't that crazy?
That's gonna be fun.
And the significance of Tiki Tea is Ray Buin was one of the original bartenders for Don the Beachcomber. Don the Beachcomber is credited with the pioneer, the godfather, the man who invented the Polynesian style bar, which all tiki bars copied.
Yeah.
Okay, all might be a strong word, but let's put it this way. So, Don Beach created the first Polynesian style escapism bar right here in the heart of Hollywood, like a block away from the Chinese Theater. And then a few years later, a man by the name of Victor Bergeron, who was a restaurateur up in Oakland, he came down and experienced the restaurant and loved it so much that when he went back to his restaurant in Oakland, which was like a trapper style lodge, right?
Right.
Kind of like I suppose it had taxidermy and that kind of stuff in there, right?
Yeah.
He converted that to a Polynesian style, and he changed his name to Trader Vic.
Yeah.
And these two guys became frenemies, I guess we'll call them, right? They became staunch rivals, professional rivals, and they competed with each other by opening multiple locations around the world and inspired other people to do the same. Other people copied them. And so a lot of these Polynesian and tiki style bars and restaurants and apartment buildings and all this stuff, it can all be traced back to Don the Beachcomber. And Ray Buin was one of his original bartenders. He opened the Tiki Tea, and the Tiki Tea is still run by his son and grandson.
Yeah.
So, big deal in the tiki community, big deal in Hollywood history, big deal in cocktail history, all of that stuff, right? And so to have any part of their legacy is really kind of an honor, right? And the current signage, I would just say the logos on the side of the building were painted by our friend Teddy. I don't even know if I should call you Teddy or Alex.
I know, yeah, that's the thing too. Like the big mystery, I go by Tiki Teddy because it's just the alliteration. And when I started sign painting, my mentor, his last apprentice, he bestowed upon him his business name. So I'm like, dude, what do you think? What do you think? He's like, dude, Tiki Teddy's cool.
Yeah.
I was like, you sure? He's like, yeah, dude, Tiki Teddy Science, it's awesome. I was like, dude, I got your blessing. That's what I'm going with.
So there you go.
But yeah, so I'm cool with Teddy, yeah.
So
yeah,
I love it. So the logos on the outside of the building, they change these every, I don't know, decade or more.
Wow.
Something like that. It'll be up there for at least a decade.
Yeah.
Every decade or more. The current ones up there are by our friend Teddy here. And I had a part in that too because I designed that logo.
Yeah.
So that logo I designed for a T-shirt that they released before pandemic. It was a while ago. And then it was redone in a different colorway for the current release, which has since sold out, by the way.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it sold out really fast, but it's interesting that they chose that to put on the building.
Yeah.
And so
yeah.
you painted it, and
I
so
did.
like we both have like a cross.
Exactly.
What do you
Yeah.
call that?
I don't know how to
Is that
describe
it's not really like a collab, but it's
I
like
guess it is a collab.
Is it a collab?
Yeah, because that's what I experience as a sign painter a lot. A lot of the times, people come to me for design. I know I do lettering. I learned from my mentor how to hand draw the rules of letter shapes. But a lot of the times, this day and age, a lot of cool graphic designers and artists, they just say, "Hey, can you paint this on my wall?" And it's like, yeah, totally. It's a great design.
Yeah.
It's a great logo. I can absolutely paint it. So I consider that sometimes a collab. So definitely, yeah, it's awesome that we both have a part in that. We can both see that, and it's your design with my hand like painted work.
Now, something that's not my design that you painted were the reproductions of the wall menus. So way back in the day, when the Tiki Tea was, I think those wall menus went up somewhere in the 60s.
Wow.
They're these little tiki, they're like cutouts, wood cutouts that were painted as like a tiki with, they had the drinks listed on them with the drink prices on them. And if you go to the Tiki Tea today, they're still mounted on the walls, but all the drink prices have been whited out because over the years they have to keep changing the prices as inflation sets in. And you replicated that for them.
Yeah, yeah. It was pretty cool experience. Funny enough, because of my Frogtown, because of me being at Frogtown, Esteban came by a few times. Bartender from Tiki T, great guy, and one day he just messaged me on Instagram and said, "Hey, I've seen your booth. Can you replicate a sign?" I was like, "Absolutely." He's like, "Look, there's a sign, the original sign. It's a wood cutout. Is there any way you could do that? Because we're going to Tiki Oasis and we'd love to have them for fans." And I was like, "Dude, absolutely." And yeah, that's what kickstarted the whole thing. I worked on those, got them, which is a little fun story a little behind the scenes look for fans here. So I painted those, I clear coated them, and then passed them off. So they grab them, they get to Tiki Oasis. As soon as they get there, I forget what day, I get a call from Mike Jr. and he's like, "Dude, the clear affected the paint and it like bled." And he sent me a photo. And like he sent me a photo. He's like, "Dude," and I did 50. That's the number we agreed upon. And he's like, 30 of these aren't good. So I was like, oh, like it was like the biggest like, dude, I fucked up, man. Right. And I was like, okay, you know what? I'll fix those when you guys get back. Don't worry about it. I'll do that. And then I'm just like, dang, dude, like, Tiki Oasis, I think it was their first time just having a booth for merch.
Yeah.
So I was like, dude, the menus I know people were looking forward to. My first collab with them, I was like, dude, this is a real bummer. And so I was headed down Friday for Tiki Oasis, my first time too. So the 25th anniversary, Tiki T has my signs being sold there. I was like, what a great time to go to Tiki Oasis for the first time. And I'm a huge fan of the Ghastly ones, so them headlining.
Oh, that's right.
Another reason to go.
Yeah.
So I was like, dude, just thinking, like, what could I do? And I think literally I was driving down Friday, Thursday, whatever scrap wood I had in my shop that was the right size, I pieced it together. I cut 20 brand new signs, stained them, repainted them, literally didn't sleep. I was up all day Thursday day and night. As soon as I finished, literally Friday at like whatever, 9 or 10 in the morning, packed everything up and drove straight to San Diego.
Wow.
I remember pulling up to like the kind of convention center area and I see like the big lines. I just parked in the emergency, threw my lights on, grabbed the box, and I like ran through even like the people that I was like, I just got to drop this off inside it's for a booth. And they're like, okay, run in. I find them. And then I even remember Mike Jr.'s face and Esteban. And I was like, hey, I'm so sorry. Here's new menus. And they're like, what? And so I wasn't able to do the whole 50, unfortunately, because with what I had in one day, I was able to still replicate 20. But yeah, I was just like, I gotta pull through for these guys. So So if you guys bought a sign at Tiki Oasis, some of them were probably just
done
the night before, hand painted the night before.
That's a pro, dude. That's a pro. That's a pro doing pro work, because you got to take care of your customer.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. Especially everyone's been super great, even from just being a client, just going by the Tiki T before, working with them, everyone's been the coolest. I have the best times, good memories there. So, of course, I wanted to do a solid, and I was able to hook them up. They were happy, and it ended up working out for us.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. I still need to get one of those from you.
So. Yeah, I know. I do have a couple
on the list.
To the side.
Right.
There's a couple on the side.
Oh, sweet. All right, awesome.
There's a few there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your other work, because... So I see the stuff this recently, because the holidays were right behind us.
Yeah.
I saw you paint some holiday art onto windows.
Yeah.
Which was also another lost art.
Oh yeah.
Because I used to see people do that all the time in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
Even before that, right? In the 70s, they used to do this glass painting on used car lots.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, with the bright neon paint.
With the bright neon paint and the prices right on there.
Yeah.
I'm not really seeing much of that anymore.
Yeah, it's kind of, there is one famous, pretty well-known guy that's still doing it a lot, but yeah, it has kind of taken a little bit of a downturn. But the windows, we call it window splashes. That's how it's kind of talked about in the sign community. It's a window splash. It's meant to be temporary, going out of business, 4th of July sale, or the holidays, just a cute little like Christmas stuff. So that's also, people, I guess, don't realize, but that's kind of part of the sign painter's wheelhouse, being able to do that kind of stuff. Like a lot of the same rules of layout design and lettering. And a lot of those kinds of signs are a callback to very old school design styles. So if you ever see those like going out of business, any of those where it's a lot of lettering, a lot of those guys use the kind of template and like the foundation of old school design layout. Like design and graphic design has changed so much throughout the
Right.
years.
Yeah.
And in sign painting, that's the one thing that kind of has stayed consistent, windows and stuff like that, and lettering and things like that. And it's fun. Yeah, it's honestly my favorite thing, especially the holidays. It's a little more freeing. It's nice to go up there, and a lot of people take different approaches. My friend from middle school with Vivid Color, he does excellent windows, and he travels all over the world during the holidays. Like they
Wow.
send him all over the place.
Wow.
He gets booked all over, and
Wow.
he does crazy stuff. He did Undefeated, the sneaker store in Silver Lake. He did Ozzy Osbourne like biting the head off a bat
Oh, wow.
with a little Christmas thing. It's like just
Dude, I
like
drive by that store every week.
yeah. So he did that this past year, and he's done tons of other fun, crazy things. But he designs his stuff. He draws it out. He creates a pattern, and a lot of the older school guys, and kind of the way I do it, I just show up to a window and go, okay, what am I gonna do? I'm like, all right, let me put some ornaments here.
Oh,
Let me put
really? So you just kind of do it right on the spot?
Yeah. So for more of the simple Christmassy, like, oh, just do some Christmas stuff. I wanted to say Happy Holidays or Merry Christmas. I will show up and just kind of like look at the window, go,
Yeah.
how am I gonna do this? And literally in the moment, freehand everything.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I watched a window painter doing the window splash.
Yeah.
Right.
Uh huh.
This was 30 years ago. It was in the 90s, I think. It might even been longer than that. And she pulled this same thing right out of her head.
Mm-hmm.
It was for Easter because she did an Easter bunny with all these different eggs. Eggs were all different colors with
Yeah.
different designs on the eggs.
Mm-hmm.
She did like the grass and the trees, and
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was a really cool looking window.
Yeah.
And it was one of these where I thought to myself, first of all, I was really I was impressed with how she pulled this out of nowhere
Yeah.
and how cool it came out. But I was also had mixed feelings of like, damn, that's so cool. But then in like a month,
It's gonna get scraped off.
Right.
It's gone. Yeah. It's the beauty of it. That's what I like about it, that it's like you do this thing and it's not gonna be there forever. Just like with any sign, right? The business could go out of business and a new one takes over,
yeah.
and boom, they just paint over your thing. So a little bit of that kind of like, it's in the moment, you're doing it now, and who knows how long it'll be there for. But that's kind of it. So a little bit of that like temporariness, and just kind of like,
how do you feel about that?
it's I feel like it's a very perfect metaphor of life,
Okay.
Like you put your stamp, but you know what? Everything keeps moving forward, and you can't really stay stuck in the past.
So do you ever get attached to any of your work?
I do, and a lot of them,
But you have to let it go.
I have to let it go. Yeah, all my work, especially like if it's a wooden sign that'll hang in someone's house, it's gone now. It's in their house, and I have photos on my phone now to look back at
Yeah.
and be like, oh, that was fun.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the cool thing about this. It's a little bit of that idea of I think as artists, we could be selfish. I feel personally that I can be selfish with my art. So this is kind of a good practice, which applies to life too. That it's that ability to let go.
I asked another artist before, another tiki artist, and I'm not going to say his name because it's nothing bad, but I just don't want to throw his name out there. But I asked him the same question when he was on the podcast, and I asked him if he gets attached to anything, and he said he used to. And he said, these days he's like, I've recognized it to be a full-time artist. I have to make a living, and so I have to let it go. And he said that the way that he made it easy for himself was he told himself, well, if I really want another one, I could make another one.
Yeah.
And so, it's an interesting way to,
Yeah, that is.
it's an interesting way to like make it feel okay. Like, yeah, you know what? Like, if I really want one, I'll just make another one for myself. And he never does because he's just too busy.
Yeah, exactly.
He's a popular artist. And speaking of temporary, like putting your art out there and then it being temporary, you ever do graffiti art?
No, but
Because that's kind of the same thing.
That is.
Some of those guys put up art. Some of it's just, it's just mess.
Yeah.
Some of it is really, really amazing art.
it's incredible. Yeah,
And I love graffiti art when it's done really well, right?
yeah,
But for some of these guys, they don't know if it'll last till the next day because it could get painted the next day.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And or one of the big things, graffiti artists who do trains, they do it there and they'll never see it again because that train's going halfway across the country. And it's
Right.
kind of cool that like your art, again, that idea of letting go, but hey, your art's moving, like people will see it somewhere else.
Yeah.
And
But
so
that's
like,
someone seeing what you did.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's exactly kind of the same thing, me doing Tiki T, someone just driving by and looking at that logo. Again, it's in passing, it's in constant motion. And again, I feel like another perfect metaphor of life, just things are in constant motion. You get a flash of it, you get that moment of going, oh, that's cool. And then that's it. And
Yeah.
that's kind of
Yeah.
what I like about signs. And it's interesting you say graffiti. I will say like 80% of sign painters have a graffiti background. Not
Oh,
me
really?
personally.
Really?
I never
Okay.
got into it, but it's interesting how a lot of people start off doing graffiti. Some do it a little bit more professional and they discover sign painting and they're like, oh, this is, it's familiar. It's a familiar feeling.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
they transition into that. And so it is kind of funny a lot as I started working with sign painters and meeting them, a lot of them come from that background and it's cool because it's like, oh, then you guys are familiar with all that and literally like, oh, we got to get into this tight space to paint this lettering. How do we do it? Well, oh, I've done worse. I've hung off of freaking
Right.
billboards and stuff. Like, okay.
It's funny that you say that because that's a good segue to what I wanted to ask you next. What I wanted to ask you was, have you been in any precarious situations?
I have.
Because I saw you you made this like kind of weird scaffolding for the Tiki
For
T.
Tiki T, yeah.
Because where you painted, there's a slope,
Uh-huh.
and then
Yeah.
there's a low wall, and so to get like a flat piece of scaffolding up
It
there,
was, yeah.
it's kind of a geometric feat, I
It
should
is,
say,
yeah.
right? So, what's some of the craziest?
Some of the craziest, let's see. So speaking on that one, the Tiki T, I remember when speaking with Mike Sr. and Jr., I think Jr. told me, yeah, the last guy that did this put some kind of scaffold. So I like drove by, I took photos and I just like couldn't wrap my brain around that. I asked sign painter friends.
How did he do
I was
it?
like, dude, how do I do this? And they're like,
Right.
my friend's like, oh, I don't have a scaffold. I don't know how to do that. And like one guy was like, oh, throw a plank. And I was like, it's a pretty, so like, yeah, that slope where it kind of plateaus and it's flat, it's a long distance. So I was like, I need like a 20, 30 foot plank.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Yeah.
and they have extending ones that are metal that reach it, but it's like $300-400. And I'm like, oh man, okay, it's an investment. But I talked to a buddy and he's like, just throw a wood plank on there. I was like, oh dude. I was like, all right, I'll give it a shot. So I did the easier side with the dumpster. Boom. I have
Yeah,
a ladder.
because it's
easy.
flat. It's flat
Yeah.
over there.
And then it was still Monday. Tiki T didn't open till Wednesday, so I was like, cool. If I can't get to the other side on today, Monday, I'll reevaluate and come back Tuesday with the proper stuff. So I got a 10-foot wooden plank from Home Depot. That's what I had there. I set up my ladder. I set up the plank, and I'm like, man, it barely reached the plateau. And when I stood up on there and I had the measurement, so I put up the pattern, the top part where it says the original, I was like, I'm barely reaching it. And with one of my brushes that has a long handle, so I just said, all right, I put up the pattern. I pounced it with just getting the pattern transferred onto
Yeah.
the wall. And I was like, all right, I'm just going to go for it. And that was the first thing I did, get the hardest to reach part. And then once I got through that, I was like, oh,
There
okay,
you
cool.
go.
Easy.
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
all right, I was able
Yeah,
to get
once you
through
get
it.
the hardest part.
Yeah.
Did you even think about like going on the roof and then leaning over and painting it upside down?
You see, I didn't even think of that.
Oh,
that
okay.
didn't cross my mind. You see, that's interesting. But other precarious things. I mean, my very, very first day when I started the apprenticeship, my mentor's like, "Cool, first day, we got a job in Van Nuys." Okay, it's a billboard on a rooftop, and so we get inside the office building. They take us
Ooh.
to how to get there, and then we.
That sounds scary,
Yeah,
dude.
it's a fire escape where the rungs
Yeah.
are like as thin as like a pencil, basically.
Right.
And so we have 3 ladders. We have our toolboxes and paint.
Are you afraid of heights?
I wasn't, luckily. Thank goodness I
Okay.
wasn't. But still, just I was like, we have to climb up a fire escape and somehow pass up 3 ladders, 22-foot ladders, and all our tools. So first guy goes up, we do a whole rope system and stuff. But we get up there, and the billboard kind of hangs off to the edge. So we set up our ladders. We're doing our thing. We have to scrape, sand the thing down, background coat it, and then paint the logo on the thing. So some of it hangs off the edge. And it was kind of scary. I'm not gonna lie, for my first one, and It was July. We're in Van Nuys, scorching hot.
And you were all rigged up.
Yeah.
I mean, like if you slip, you were still tied up.
Not really.
Not really.
Not
Okay.
really.
See, that's scary.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I'm surprised that that was painted because don't they use like don't they print like paper for those?
Sometimes, yeah, those billboards and same thing. The job was my mentor had done the first one, so they called him up again to do the redo. So it's just what they went for. Yeah, it's interesting how some people opt for hand painted when it is a billboard, and some people opt for, they could just get in the vinyl and like stick it in.
That's interesting. You know, I was on the freeway on the 101. I was crossing under the 6th Street Bridge. And a couple months ago, I had noticed that, those really tall arches?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
At the very top, someone had like graffitied
Graffiti.
their name or
Yeah.
something. And I thought, holy moly, how did they get up there, number
Yeah,
one?
yeah.
And number two, when they got up there, did they just lay on their chest and paint it upside down?
Yeah, who knows?
I don't
Yeah,
know how
it's-
tall that thing is. It's probably like 100 feet or more.
Mhm.
And there's no falling into a river.
Right.
This was the arch right over the 101 freeway.
Yeah, yeah.
And when I see stuff like that, and now there's even more.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wonder about that,
Yeah.
because. And then to get the scale right. So when you're on
Mhm.
this billboard, to get the scale right of
Exactly,
the art that
yeah.
you're doing,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, there's been a few, so that's one example. Literally, I just did one recently with another friend. It was his job, his business, snake oil signs. Yeah, same thing, rooftop job, and where we painted it kind of hung out off the edge of the building.
Yeah.
So I remember when we're putting up the pattern and where we're painting, it was like a little like, oh shoot, like
Yeah.
even he was like, all right, like it was his job, so he's like, I'll take care of it, like don't do it, but just kind of like, all right, we just got to be very weary.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of factors, like especially that one too. It's it was a cafe, Dialogue Cafe in West Hollywood. People are still eating down there, so we're painting, and it's not just like
Right.
it's like we got to be very precise and careful.
Yeah, yeah.
And so there's so many factors and things, and even when you do have a boom lift or a scissor lift, another kind of funny story during my apprenticeship, I was up on a boom lift in Redondo Beach, and there was an earthquake.
Oh, man.
Dude, that one was a crazy experience because it was 3 of us in this lift. So it was pretty wide. 3 of us are painting, going at it. And as I'm painting, it kind of felt like someone was shifting. I was like, maybe they're grabbing a different brush. They're moving. I look, and the other 2 painters are just going. They're painting. So I was like, why is it rocking like someone was like shifting?
Right.
And then they kind of look at me, and I'm like, I just pull out my phone, Google, boom, earthquake.
Were you strapped up?
Yeah.
Okay.
For those, yeah, definitely. When we're on a boom lift, got to have the harness and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
But still, just when we realize, oh, it's moving, because I think we all had the same thought process. Someone's moving to grab supplies.
Yeah.
And so when we noticed no one was moving, we're like, why is it bouncing? And then
Right.
Google, I was like, oh, dude, there's an earthquake.
Yeah.
So we kind of like stopped, and we're like, hopefully there's no aftershock or something. We kind of waited a bit. It's like, all right, we'll just keep going.
Wow. Dude,
So, yeah.
that gives me the heebie-jeebies, man. Let's talk about some of your art and some of the clients that you've painted for, because I was impressed. I think you painted something for Disney recently.
For Disney, I've done some work for Disney with my mentor. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I remember seeing like, oh shit, he's doing some stuff for Disney, and so I was impressed that at the work, and not just the work, that you picked them up as a client.
Yeah, so that wasn't me, but still through my mentor,
Through your mentor,
I've had the
okay.
chance to work.
Because you posted photos, so that's
Yeah, I think when we're inside, and this was in downtown Disney, he's actually done works in the park. He's done some cool stuff before my time, and so the San Fran Okio, the new, like when they redid the whole pier, there's the bread bowl factory. They have a giant silo, and it has like the beef for boudin, and
Right.
then they added the Japanese lettering. So they actually hired him and his team before I started the apprenticeship to paint that whole thing.
okay.
So any Disney fans that go by there, they look at that. It was insane to me. That was one of the reasons why I wanted to be his apprentice, because I'm like, this guy's painting at Disney like crazy cool
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
But during my time there, during my apprenticeship, we painted in downtown Disney. So there's a few places. So we did the candy store, the really big candy store. They remodeled it, and there's like big candy medallions that were like airbrushed and sprayed. And I helped in the prep work. My mentor and another guy who's a car guy, he does like lowriders and all that kind of stuff. They painted that stuff. And then my mentor and I did paint the Marvel store in downtown Disney. So where there's a whole new park area, there's a Marvel store. If you walk in, there's props and stuff all up on the ceiling, like in the high end of the walls. There's like little octagon rectangles. So they hired him, and he brought in another older sign painter guy and myself to paint those. And it was a cool experience because yeah, we're painting inside, and the store was half open, so there's merchandise. Those are real props from the movies too, which is crazy.
Nice.
So they're like some of the octagons go over it. There's no glass casing, so just be careful, don't drop any paint, because that's the real mask from Wolverine and Deadpool. And I'm
Pressure,
like, dude. I was like, yeah, you're telling me that now. So yeah, it was super cool to paint that. And I even remember some of them we don't want to mess the props up by any, even though my mentor and the other painter are like top notch, they would never spill. But just to be safe, it's like, hey, can we readjust the design? Sure. I remember we're getting to one part. If you're in the Marvel store at the cashier top right, there's a little I think something from like Wakanda or something, and then there's a few of the octagons we painted, and one of the octagon shapes goes over, and my mentor was like, hey, is it cool if we change the design just so we don't go over the props? And they're like, no, that one's actually a hidden Mickey. So we got to leave that as is.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
So, and it's kind of cool seeing the back end of Disney where like everything, again, the design, all that stuff is taken into consideration. They're like, nope, that one has to stay as is.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, cool.
Yeah. Wow. What else would we recognize from you? Where else have you done signage?
Some of the signage. So yeah, Tiki T. I've done Midnight Oil. It's a dumpling restaurant in Long Beach. They're opening up a speakeasy off to the side that I did a little window to make it look like an old like laundry place.
It looks great.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
That was a fun one too. And then I'm trying to think right off the bat. I've just recently did a laundromat in Long Beach. There's a camera shop in East LA, Film Scouts. That's actually an interesting story. So when I took one workshop with my mentor, I kind of had the basics down, and I met this guy who do pop-ups, and I was doing pop-ups at the same time too. He was at the booth next to me, and he overheard me talking about the signs. He's like, oh, you do signs? I was like, yeah, I just started. He's like, oh, I'm opening up a brick and mortar if you want to do my signs. I was like, yeah, totally. He opened up his shop, hired me. I did the signs. And then that was right when I started the workshops, not knowing what I was going to do with sign painting. Then later on, I get the apprenticeship. I'm actually doing it professionally. I look back at those, and I'm just like, man, those are some bad signs. It is so shitty, dude. I'm just like, what the
But you were just starting.
I was just starting, yeah. And
so look, man.
Yeah, I get it.
If our listeners out there wanted to listen to my catalog and go all the way back to the beginning,
right,
they're pretty bad.
Yeah.
But you got to leave them out. That's your history.
It is.
Right?
And that's kind of where I'm conflicted. And it's so funny. I've had some sign painter buddies. As I've started working with more, I just talk about, oh yeah, what have you done? And I bring that up, and like one guy was like, oh, you did that one. I was like, yeah. I was like, say whatever you want to say.
They were probably talking to each other about like, look at this thing.
Yeah. He's like, oh, you did that. I was like, yep, I know. Look, I know. And then like, funny enough though, I just because the shop is amazing. Anyone that's into film photography in the East LA area, I highly recommend it. Film Scouts. The owner's super cool. He wants to do a community-based kind of film lab. So he puts up photos inside the shop. So photographers of the area, they have their artwork up there, photography.
Oh, that's great.
He sells film, he sells camera, he develops and scans. So it's a film shop, but also he wants it to be a very collaborative studio space.
Oh, I want to see it now.
Look it up, Film Scouts.
Yeah,
and so because it's grown so much in popularity, and I actually really love the owner, and he's such a great guy, I'm kind of like, dude, I want to hook you up, man. I want to make this just as your shop is. I want to make those signs shine. So we've talked about it, and in the works, I'm going to get a chance to redo everything. So that the signage for that place will completely transform.
There you go.
Now that I've kind of really got my feet in the ground.
Redemption story.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that'll be a fun one when I post it, because I'll definitely have a before and after.
Yeah.
When I'm able to redo that. So
yeah.
So that's a good one. Film Scouts is a spot too that you can go check out that work, and if when this episode comes out, probably you'll still get to see the before.
Okay.
Because once my schedule clears up and I have time to go redo that, it'll be a while.
Yeah. I also want to ask you what your thoughts are about digital art. And wraps and things like that.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure we cover that we before we forget to
Yeah.
talk about just the way that the world works.
Yeah, totally.
Where everything's becoming digital,
Right.
everything's becoming wrapped, printed,
Mm-hmm.
and then just glued to a wall.
Exactly.
What are your thoughts about that?
I mean, I think I feel like, again, a lot of people are like, oh, is it really hurting, the industry? And it's been around since when vinyl first, like vinyl signs really blew up in like, I even think the 80s, 90s. And that was when people were like, back then even people were like, oh, hand painted signs are going to go out of business. But it stayed strong. And here's my thought. The quality shows, if someone were to reach out to me and I say, hey, to get this painted, it will cost this much. And they go off and get a sticker. That's fine. Because who knows how long, like the quality will show. That vinyl sticker will peel in a couple years. It'll lose the color if the sun's hitting it directly. But if you were to get a hand painted sign, the quality will show. And there's a lot of work out
Absolutely.
there that lasts forever. So I'm not really too worried. What I will say though, in respect to that, is AI. That's the impending doom, I think, for a lot of artists. And here's my perspective on that. Unfortunately, for a lot of designers, digital designers, graphic designers, that is the scary thing. Fortunately for me, that's something that I'm not really like too worried about.
Yeah.
But it has already crossed my path, and it's interesting because I get work from a client. They say, hey, this is my logo, this is my thing. Can you paint it? Okay, sure. Do you have a vectorized file, PDF, anything like that? Oh, no. We just got on ChatGPT. I'm like, oh.
Wow.
And I'm like, what do you need? I'll ask ChatGPT to make it. I'm like, no. Like,
Yeah.
Like it just doesn't work. And I've seen some stuff where like they create an image like this weird logo and it's a monstrosity. There's no clean lines, and I'm like, how do you expect me to paint this? It's AI like blob. And I think that's kind of I think that's going to be the really big trend. Small business owners aren't going to go to graphic designers, are going to create a design.
It's already happening.
It is happening, exactly.
It's already happening. I'm seeing flyers and stuff on social media, and all AI created.
And I'm already getting a little bit of it, but I know it's going to grow where they're going to come to me and go, hey, here's my logo. Can you paint this? And I'm like, oh, it's AI. And I'll have to be like, well, I'm going to have to be able to plot it, to be able to get a vectorized file. I'll have to redesign it from scratch to match your AI monstrosity. Yeah. So I'm like, just thinking about that, being like, all right, that's going to be a new thing to kind of prepare for.
So here's my thought about AI. And when I think about, like a rap or something, there's a place for it. So if you're doing like a corporate event and you want to, like, for example, Dodgers wins the World Series, and they want to wrap all the buses that they're going to use in the parade, right? It doesn't make sense to hand paint all those. Right. The wraps make sense for that.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, it's soulless to me.
100%. Yeah.
It looks very cold, very computer made, very
flat.
Flat.
Yeah, flat and dead.
And when you look at like the vintage, is vintage the right word? But, if we're looking at the style of the mid-century hand-painted sign work, it has so much soul.
Yeah.
And it has so much personality. You just can't capture that with a digital wrap.
Right.
I mean, imagine a car that's digitally wrapped versus a car that's, like you've got your hand painted signs logo and stuff on the side of your truck. That looks so cool.
Yeah.
It would look a lot less cool if that were a vinyl sticker on your door.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, even to think about like pinstriping and all that, no one would take a pinstripe sticker and stick it on. Like, it just doesn't.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't have the same soul.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of the thing that, again, like having this conversation, and even me myself wondering, like, how long is this gonna last? Am I gonna hit a really like a couple years of like people aren't looking for hand painted stuff? I believe that the quality, there are people that want quality.
Well, I also believe that there are people that want to go back to the way things used to be. So, I mean, my son's collecting vinyl records.
Yeah,
I thought those were gone. And there's people collecting cassette tapes now,
Right.
believe it or not.
CDs. Yeah.
CDs.
Yeah. Doesn't go anywhere.
People are going back to the old school way of things because newer isn't always better.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there is that kind of like faith, I guess, or just kind of knowing that, again, the fact that Trade Tech has taught the program for 100 years and they're still getting students to keep that program alive, and not just alive, one of the most prosperous programs in the school. I'm like, all right, there's if there are people interested in learning how to do that, there's people interested in wanting that service.
Yeah.
And it's true. I think one of the things early on when I started the apprenticeship, or when I was taking workshops with my mentor, I feel like nowadays everybody knows a tattoo artist. Everybody has a friend, and in some places like that, some fields, it's a little oversaturated. But in other things, like not everybody knows a sign painter. But there's always work. There's tons of work.
Can you imagine if tattoo art became AI?
That would be
and
crazy.
Some stupid machine was like tattooing your arm or something.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
That's like the AI bartender in Vegas.
Oh my God, I
Fuck
heard
that
guy.
Yeah. It's a novelty. People will go there and watch a drink be made by a machine, and the thought is that the machine is going to be precise. There's not going to be any overpouring or underpouring.
Yeah.
So you're going to get exactly what you paid for, and the business is not going to have any shrinkage because there's nobody serving free drinks or, again, like overpouring or spilling or anything like that, right?
Yeah.
But nobody's going to hang out at a bar where the bartender's a fucking machine.
Robot, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, definitely.
Yeah. Before we close out, I want to talk a little bit about your art, because for those of you that are interested in seeing some of Teddy's art or Alex's art, we're going to have a YouTube video. We're going to film a little bit after this recording, some of his shop and some of his process, and we'll have that on the YouTube. But I want to encourage you guys to seek him out at some of the Tiki events out here in Southern California. He's usually at Aloha Sundays, which we do from April through October at Frogtown Brewery, usually the last Sunday of the month. Sometimes he is at, you said you're at Oasis.
I'm at this year. I'm going to be at Oasis in April in Arizona.
I've seen you at Tonga Hut.
I love doing the Tonga Hut markets. Yeah. So when those 4 come around, I always try to jump in on that. And I'm trying to expand, finding new stuff. That's why like Oasis this year is going to be my first time. Yeah.
And I want to mention to our listeners that you were at Exoticon. Well, not even at Exoticon.
Yeah.
When you were at Aloha Sunday,
Right.
You were painting something that was blank at the beginning.
Right.
And a few hours later,
Yeah.
it was on the wall, for sale.
Yeah.
And someone was like, "Oh, that's a cool sign. I didn't see that when he first set up." And I said, "Because he just painted it. He just painted it and put it on the wall." And they were like, "Oh my God, that's so cool. I think I want to get that."
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's sold. It was the Dawn's fish.
Oh yeah.
The swordfish?
Yeah, that's sold. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So, then you did the same thing at Exoticon.
Yeah.
You painted something that I walked up and said, "Hey, what's happening, dude?"
Right.
And we said hi and stuff. And then you sat in your booth and you painted something like on the spot.
Yeah.
And then put it on the rack right after.
Yeah. I think, again, like we're talking about, like the beauty, or at least for me, sign painting, the tangible like thing. Like, again, there's a lot of great art and stuff like that. And some artists, they make, so it's accessible. They make reproductions of it, prints for people to buy it. But I do like that everything I do is hand painted, I have my stickers and stuff like that, my designs that I do digitally available on my booth, but I try my best to everything I do hand painted, because again, it is that tangible thing, like you're getting, something that was handmade, and again, in this day and age, I think we don't see that enough, and even if it's like, again, a lot of the signs are repeats, but each one is slightly different. Like that Dawn's one, I've done a dozen times. But each single one is hand painted. So if you grab 2 different ones from different people that have bought it,
They're different.
They're different. The aging, the distressing technique, even the brush, and like because I make the colors every time. So like the blues and the reds in that sign won't ever match up because they're slightly different. So I want that for people, especially. And one of the reasons why I got into doing signs and tiki stuff, I love the amount of effort people put into their home bars. I love the story. I love the name.
Yeah.
I love what people do with it and their creativity. So I wanted to bring that element and have something that they can add to it that they know is going to be like, oh, this was handmade. Sure, there's another one around, but it's not exactly the same.
Yeah.
It's slightly
Yeah.
different. So still original in its own way.
Yeah, see, you can't do that with AI or digital printing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why. Yeah.
It's unique to you. You
Yeah.
know, like whatever piece you got
Mhm.
is unique to you because
Yeah.
you hand painted it.
Right.
So, along that note, I want to say one more thing before we wrap things up because we're coming up on the hour. When I was in high school, I used to go to Puente Hills Mall all the time because that was like where people my age were hanging out. There's a t-shirt shop there. They sold t-shirts and jackets and hats and just, you know, all different colors, all different sizes, but they were all generic. And there's a guy right at the entrance who would airbrush them. And he was an
yeah.
independent artist that, because this t-shirt shop was Asian owned and this guy was Latino, and he was renting out this little corner space. And he would basically, you'd buy a shirt or a jacket or whatever it was, bring it to this guy. Maybe you'd have a photograph or you'd have an idea, and he would airbrush. This are the 80s.
Yeah.
So it was this thing where they would airbrush like a mini truck on it, right?
That's sick,
With
yeah.
a name
Yeah.
or something, right? With lots of like starbursts and lots of bright colors and all that. On the front of a t-shirt, back of a t-shirt, whatever. So here's what I want to close with. Do you remember in the 80s when people used to wear, in hip-hop, they'd wear these Levi's denim jackets where the back panel was graffiti art?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I want to have you paint a jacket like that for me.
Yeah.
We'll work on it.
We'll talk about it. That's awesome. Yeah. Funny enough, as we're sitting here, I'm working on this helmet that you guys will get to see. That's going to be an airbrush job. So I haven't done too much of it, but I'm dabbling in airbrush
It doesn't have to be airbrush.
or just hand painted.
Just
okay,
hand
cool.
painted.
Yeah, that'd
I
be
just
awesome.
want it to look cool.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be airbrush.
Yeah. Well. Yeah, that'd be awesome. Actually, I like that. Let's talk about that.
Yeah,
Cool.
we'll talk about that. But before we let everybody go, tell us where they can find you if they want to know how to get some of your art. Social media, website, whatever you have.
Yeah, totally. So for sure, if you guys want to buy some signs or come just check out my work, I am at. I post all the pop-ups. So at my Instagram, it's Teddy's Tiki, TEDDYS TIKI, or my website tikiteddy.com. And yeah, if you're looking for anything specific too, I do customs as well. Let's meet in person and talk, or you could just send me a message. But yeah, I'm all over from Orange County to the Valley. Tiki Market pop-ups all over the place.
Awesome. Again, check out our YouTube if you want to see his studio and some of the work that he does. We're going to record some of that content right now. That's at youtube.com/PolynesianPop. You can also follow our adventures on YouTube. We put all kinds of video content up there all the time. Every week we try. But yeah, check it out. Give us a subscribe, give us a follow, and all that kind of stuff. And if you want to help support the program, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/PolynesianPop, where we release exclusive content as well as set up private parties and stuff for members. So check us out there. Thanks again for listening, everybody. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you, Adrian. Thanks,
Appreciate
everyone.
it.
Appreciate it.
All right, party people, we're going to go. Cheers and aloha.
Aloha.